welcome everyone to Jupiter's CROCK, episode 8 of Blood and Sand. My name is Matthew. Joining me tonight, down there in Memphis, still alive, is Ronan.
Well, yeah, I'm too hardcore to die, man. Yeah,
Is that it?
that's exactly it.
And here in Lincoln, incredibly sleepy. We don't know if he'll be able to make it through tonight. Is Spartacus, otherwise known as Spartacus.
Yep, I'm here, and I can tell you that every day you survive Memphis is a gift.
So we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to discuss episode 8 of Blood and Sand, which is Mark of the Brotherhood tonight. But I wanted to give a special shout out to a bunch of new subscribers that we've gotten recently, courtesy of Jupiter's CROCK. Recently, we're actually recording these a few episodes in advance of when they actually post, so we're in the future. But our episode 3 Legends episode kind of popped quite a bit. We've gotten some subscribers. It's got almost 800 views. We don't know how, we don't know why, but welcome one and all as we discuss Spartacus. You guys have anything to say about the new subscribers based on this amazing show we're doing?
You know, we had it was episode 3 of Blood and Sand. We got a lot of subscribers. I think that was also the last episode where I think that was before we started playing poker. So I wonder if it's poker. Do people hate poker, and that's why they're not watching the subsequent episodes?
Possibly. I don't know. Or we could have just wiggled our way into an algorithm that we don't know how, but that's probably the reason.
Goddamn YouTube.
So yeah, we're gonna. Let's dig into it. Spartacus, are you ready?
I'm gonna try to get through this.
All right.
So the episode begins with Spartacus and a montage of his continued victories in the arena, and for one of the first times in the series, we have a legitimately happy-looking Spartacus. He is fully embraced his gladiator identity, and he is just reveling in this newfound fame. He seems to be killing Salonius's men, good Salonius's men, routinely. One of the games, I think Badiatus makes mention of, soon Salonius won't have any men left.
It's a wonder he has any men left.
Yes.
I will note that the CG in this opening montage has not aged well. It looks pretty poor.
It has not.
No.
I also say, watching this now decade old show on a modern TV,
Yes.
It's kind of fuzzy looking, my DVDs.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
You can watch it on some Blu-rays. God damn it, man up.
No, Blu-rays are stupid. Anyways, Alithia is there, and Alithia is very tired of seeing Spartacus. She just cannot wait for Spartacus to die. She wants to see other people. She hates that this man that has dishonored her husband in her opinion is, kind of the talk of Capua. But Badiata says, well, hey, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to go buy some new slaves. Why don't you come join us? Why don't you come examine the wares? And so then we go to the following day, and Badiatus and Salonius are there along with Onomea. I'm going to fold this hand, and they're examining 4 or 5 slaves. You've got Segovax, Agron, Duro, I think is his name, and then a nameless person who he doesn't last long in this episode. I don't know if he ever gets a name.
He's very excited though. He's going to win for honor and glory and freedom,
Yes,
and then the next scene he literally dies.
Well, we're not there yet, but that is in fact what happens to him. So Badiatus and Salonius are going back and forth bidding, and Badiatus is like, I'm bored with this. 100 denarii for the whole lot, and he sells.
It's Storage Wars, ancient Rome style.
Yes, and Doc Torrey tries to tell him, you really Segovax might be okay, but you really overpaid for the rest of these guys. And Badiatus is like, you can't put a price on fucking over good Salonius. So from this point on, it's kind of a mirror of the very early Blood and Sand episodes, because you have new recruits, kind of juxtaposed with the established gladiators. Basically, Spartacus is the only established gladiator left because Crixus is still injured at this point. But the new gladiators, you have a gladiator that wants freedom, a gladiator who doesn't believe that the champion of Capua is all that, gladiator that then sets that character straight and says, nope, actually, Spartacus is legitimate. And this is very much like the back and forth that Spartacus and Vero had back in episode 2 or 3. But the nameless gladiator... Oh, let me back up a second. Before we get to all that, Lithia is examining the wares, and Lucretia... Yes. Lucretia tells Lithia, hey, you know what? Why don't you buy a gladiator? You can, sponsor, essentially, one of these gladiators, and it will be your gladiator. You basically just, pay us for his upkeep and his training and his housing, and this gladiator will be yours. Like, he will represent you in the arena. She has all of the new gladiators take their diapers off, and she chooses Segavax because Segavax has a horse cock. And, you almost hear a fucking thud when this guy removes his pants. Anyways, Lithia has sponsored Segavax, and so then we get the scene where it's the newbies talking back and forth. Again, Segavax wants freedom. The rest of them don't believe Spartacus is all that. And then the nameless gladiator says, no, I have seen the calls in the arena where the crowd is all behind the gladiator, and therefore the gladiator is granted freedom, and that's what Segavax wants more above all else. Segavax wants to be free, and then this new gladiator says, I will, Spartacus will be my idol, I will follow in his footsteps, and I will gain my freedom in the arena. And the next morning, Segavax kills him.
It's like that the episode in The Thing in the Pit, right? With the guy with the thing on his thing, we're
mirroring.
Yeah.
Kurza or Karza, whichever is, he's like, I am hot shit. I am gonna wreck these people, and then it's like smash cut to him dying. Segavax kills this nameless gladiator the next day after his big speech about wanting freedom and whatnot. What else happens here?
I will point out that Segavax, throughout most of this episode, comes off as a pretty decent dude. There's a whole sequence early on, I don't know if you're going to get to this or not, but where Crixus is on the mend. To me, this is kind of like a Crixus episode. It's basically showing how Crixus, he's lost the mojo and how he's going to gain the mojo. But
Crixus got his groove back is what the episode should be called.
Exactly. And there's a sequence when Crixus is basically trying to treat the new recruits like shit, and Spartacus, who's now the alpha in this ludus, is like, no, you're gonna let them eat. And I love the sequences in this episode where it's basically Spartacus Crixus is nothing right now. He's nothing to these recruits. They have no idea who he was. He's basically
nothing to Xena.
Yeah, he's nothing to Xena. He can barely perform, although he claims he's doing that on purpose.
Crixus is a big part of this episode. He has a lot going on, certainly more than anyone other than maybe Segavax.
Yeah. But I just want to remember, there's that sequence when Spartacus is sort of confronting Crixus in front of all of them, and I just love the cuts to Asher's face. He looks like he's about ready to orgasm or something. He's like, yes.
It's the Spartacus equivalent of that reaction GIF. If you type into your GIF keyboard and you go ooh, and it's that one of Chris Pratt turning and giving that ooh face. That was Asher. That's the Spartacus equivalent in this episode.
Yeah, so let's cover everything that Crixus is up to. Crixus is still recovering from his wounds. He is still having sex with Xena, but he's not giving Xena what she needs, so Xena is left disappointed. And Crixus says, apologies, Xena, I'm still too weak, my wounds haven't healed yet. But then when he talks to Navia, he says, I'm I'm actually doing this on purpose. I'm going in there all limp-dicked, hoping that Xena will lose interest in me. But Xena just keeps coming back for more, hoping that he will become the Crixus of old.
And it is confirmed in the scene that Crixus and Navia have not slept together.
Right. Navia is, even though Navia fully understands like the dynamic going on in the Ludus. She's not mad at Crixus at all, but she is jealous that, you know, she keeps basically like delivering the man that she loves to Xena so that he can have sex with someone else. So she's unhappy, but, you know, she's not giving Crixus shit for it. You know, they both understand what is going on, and the power dynamic, blah, blah, blah. We get the scene where Crixus is trying to act like top dog again and shit on the new recruits, and Spartacus puts him in his place. The big Crixus like storyline in this episode is Badiatus thinks that Crixus is just done. Crixus is, because that's I think
he doesn't start at that point. He doesn't start at that point. It's Asher who puts the thought in his head. Because when Asher first tells him, when Asher first goes to him with this, hey, you know, maybe we could, you know, maybe sell him. Like Badiatus' first instinct is, fuck no, he's been too good to us. Actually, you know, actually a little bit of compassion there.
Yeah, because Asher's trying to
quickly turns around.
Yeah, because Asher's trying to get him out. Just like Asher turned and killed Barca, he's trying to get Crixus out because Asher knows if Crixus goes back to full power, Asher's in a lot of trouble.
Yep. So yeah, Asher puts the thought in Badiatus' head. I think he says something along the lines of, "Hey, when Oenomaus was injured by Theocles, you know, how long did it take him to recover? I bet he recovered faster than Crixus did. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge." And Badiatus is finally like, yeah, you know, okay. Crixus wants to get back out there to training, but it's just he's not ready yet. He eventually forces the issue and gets his ass kicked. But before this, Asher has been given two purposes. He is to go out and get the herbs needed to speed Crixus' recovery, but he's also to go out and talk to Vibius, who's a character that this is the first time we've ever seen or heard his name, but, you know, just ask Vibius if he would hypothetically be interested in buying the undefeated Gaul. So that's what Crixus has going on. To get around this, Crixus goes out and picks a fight with Spartacus because Crixus thinks he's ready, and he's absolutely not fucking ready. And when Crixus gets his ass kicked, that's what really pushes Badiatus into, okay, you know, his time has come, and Badiatus even says, like, Xena tries to say, you know, Crixus is family, he's part of this Ludus, and Badiatus is like, no, like, this is what's going to happen.
He's a slave.
Everyone, yeah. Eventually, everyone in the Ludus is going to basically outlive their usefulness, and we will sell them because that is, you know, that's what we do. We are the masters here.
Yeah. And Crixus fights Spartacus. Crixus fights Spartacus because Navia tells him, "Look, dude, you're gonna get sold, so you need to like make a display of power here to make them not want to sell you."
Yeah, because that one didn't work out.
Yeah, it does not work out well, but later on, Navia comes up with another plan, and so she goes to Crixus and tells him, like, you know, the deal
the better
is
plan.
Done. Tomorrow, you are going to be sold unless you convince Domina to keep you around. And Crixus says, she's not going to listen to me, and she's like, I'm not telling you to go and have a conversation with her. I'm telling you to go and fuck the shit out of her. And so Crixus does, and Xena's back on board with keeping Crixus around. So that's what Crixus has got going on this episode. He shows back up again at the end. We'll get there. Spartacus and Vero continue to hang out. Vero continues to gamble. Spartacus shows up and just out of nowhere just beats Vero in gambling, and like the next day he tries to give Vero his money back, trying to convince Vero that, you know, be a good husband. It's not your wife's fault what happened to her. Stop being a piece of shit. Be thankful your wife is still alive, and get your life back on track. What else happens? So Vero he still comes across as kind of an asshole in this episode,
and there's a whole sequence when Asher's bringing basically prostitutes for all the different gladiators down there, and Spartacus sees Vero banging some chick, and I think it's really weird. Have you noticed that every time someone like walks up behind somebody and sees them having sex with their back turned, the person having sex always knows they're there and turns around and looks at them and gives them eye contact? Very awkward and weird. And Vero just slowly turns. Just slowly turns and looks at Spartacus, and I'm like, uncomfortable. I don't think I would just keep eye contact.
I mean, it was a better, like, you are a noted sexual prude, though, so, I mean, yeah, like, for you, that would be, like...
Well, Ronan, I could say, if I walked by and you were doing that and you turned and you just connect eye contact with me, I would keep walking. I would not sit there and be like, yeah, let's hold this eye contact for a while.
It's not just going to be direct eye contact, Matt. There's going to be a smile and a thumbs up, like, hell yeah, brother.
And it wasn't even just eye contact. It was very judgmental, like, Vero, like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Like, that was the eye contact that Vero was getting. But anyways, that's what's going on with Vero. Like, kind of the crux of the episode is Alithia. Alithia is convinced to...
Smoke show.
Yep. She buys Segavax, and then Alithia, like, really wants to make her friends jealous. And Alithia and Xena kind of have their back and forth. Like, Alithia will not miss an opportunity to like, just take a shot at Xena. But Xena also shows that she knows how to play Alithia like a fiddle, because they're having this conversation where Alithia says, I did not mean to call that, but I'm not paying attention to this game. Alithia wants to show off the fact that she now owns a gladiator, but she tells Xena, it's like, or Xena invites all of her friends to the Ludus, and Alithia says, oh no, these are proper Roman women. They only hang out with women of their standing, implying that Alithia is, above Xena and basically doing Xena a favor by being there.
Well, she even mentions that little comment, oh, well, I'll even get your hair done well. So you don't have that rat's nest on your
Alithia is constantly taking shots at Xena, but like I said, Xena also knows how to play Alithia, because Xena retorts with, oh, you're right. They shouldn't come here because that would just make them too jealous of you, and we don't want that. And that's what convinces Alithia to make this visitation happen.
And the reason why, because in the background, Badiatus, he's trying to get Xena, Lucretia, we just call her Xena because she's Xena, he's trying to get her, she's basically working on improving the Ludus, like the standing of the Ludus, because eventually, like, Badiatus wants to be a senator, right? So all these proper Roman women showing up here, and when Xena's sort of like whining and dining them and showing them the wares of the gladiators, that's just going to improve the image of the House of Batiatus in their eyes.
Yes, and so the night of the visit happens, and Xena
no
is
sex
like
orgy,
in the crowd. No sex orgy, unfortunately. Like, calling it a sex orgy implies there
That's
are non-sex orgies. Anyways, Xena is working this crowd. Like, she just kind of like offhandedly mentions that Alithia has bought a gladiator, and that in Alithia, she gets all of the accolades from her friends. She has one-upped her friends because she owns a gladiator and they don't. But then Xena, and I think this is actually like innocent, but who knows? But then Xena also mentions, oh, but he's eventually going to be a gladiator. He's still got to go through the test and get the mark of the Brotherhood, yada 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 yada.
He's still a recruit right now.
Yeah,
the catty girls was like, oh, so he's but a slave then. Ew.
Yeah,
they are incredibly catty.
Alithia's friends are smart enough to know that if Segavax is not part of the Brotherhood, then he's just a slave. He is not a gladiator yet. And when they figure that out, like, all of like the wind immediately goes out of Alithia's sails. And so her friends are like, oh, well, let's see a real gladiator. Let's see Spartacus. And so Lithia's like, are you fucking shitting me? But they bring Spartacus up, and all of the ladies are impressed with Spartacus. One of the ladies mentions, I hear like the blood of a gladiator can keep a man hard for days on end. And so Alethea's like, oh, allow me to get you some of Spartacus's blood. And she goes and cuts Spartacus across the chest.
I love Xena. She's like, don't you cut too deep.
Yeah, she knows what's up.
But there's this great scene, this fantastic scene where Alethea is like just kind of shitting on Spartacus, and Spartacus does not hold his tongue. Spartacus calls out Glaber and says, you're telling me that I'm dishonorable. It was your husband who was a coward, a dishonorable coward, because he left behind all of these women and children to get just massacred and assaulted by the enemies that he was supposed to be fighting, and yada yada yada. And Xena immediately sends Spartacus away. She knows that Spartacus has done fucked up. So as Spartacus is being taken away, Alethea yells at Xena that if Spartacus were my slave, I would have him crucified. But then Alethea's friends start turning the knife because they're like, well, what Spartacus said was correct. Like, everyone knows that your husband's a piece of shit and did everything that Spartacus said he did. And so then all of Alethea's friends leave. They've had their fun for the night, but they're planning on continuing this. They want to come back and visit the Ludus again. So
the pleasures of the House of Batiatus. They need to experience those pleasures.
They do.
And we need to see those pleasures.
Shit, double aces. So Xena, I think at this point still actually considers Alethea a friend, and so I think she actually wanted Alethea to look good here, but it didn't work out. But Xena's now got backup friends that she can maybe, worm tongue her way into getting a higher standing for Batiatus. But before the night ends, Alethea says, hey, since I basically bought Segavax, can I go and have a conversation with Segavax? And so they have a chat. She finds out that Segavax wants to be free, and so Alethea says, just do me a tiny little favor, and, I'll set you free, because I own you. And so you find out that favor is Segavax is to go and kill Spartacus, and so Segavax just a tiny thing, kill the champion. So Segavax, who up at this point has had a very cordial relationship with Spartacus, Segavax admires Spartacus when they have some training earlier in the episode, and Segavax is very thankful that Spartacus is giving him this direction on how to be a gladiator. So Segavax has a very high opinion of Spartacus, but he values freedom more than anything else, and so he takes the opportunity to try and kill Spartacus. Crixus, who is just finished up giving Xena the time of her life, shows up and defends Spartacus, saves his life. And Spartacus and Crixus had this good back and forth where Spartacus is like, why would you protect me? You hate me. And Crixus says, that doesn't matter. You're a brother. You are a gladiator. You still deserve an honorable death in the arena. And I think this kind of goes back a couple episodes to when Spartacus killed Gnaeus. Crixus gave no fucks about all of the terrible things that Gnaeus had done. He was still a brother, and that's what Crixus cares about here. And so he was very upset with Spartacus for killing a fellow gladiator outside of the arena.
Yeah, Crixus has a principle, and he never wavers from that principle. And that it's exactly that. You are my brother. We might fight. I might hate you. But when push comes to shove, Segavax, he's not a gladiator. He's just a slave. He hasn't earned anything. And I love when Crixus basically tells him, look, I hate you. I hate you, but you deserve a glorious death in the arena. Right, he shows that respect to Spartacus, and I love we'll get to it. What he says to Spartacus at the very end of this episode, it's great.
Yep. So Spartacus has been saved. Oh shit, I won that. Goddamn. Spartacus has been saved, and Segavax gets crucified. And Alethea shows up in the middle of the crucifixion and is like, "Oh no, someone attacked Spartacus! How terrible! What? Spartacus
Gee
is still
willikers,
alive?
who could have done that?"
Yeah. Spartacus is still alive.
Jinkies.
Oh no! Segavax hasn't said anything, has he? And everyone says that nope. Segavax wouldn't tell anyone why he tried to kill Spartacus. Not even when we cut his dick off, and that's usually when people tell us whatever they want or whatever we want.
They show it. I mean, they show it, man. His giant horse cock is gone and bleeding profusely.
Yep. So Segavax has been crucified. He is dead from. We don't actually see him die, but he's not in any other episode, so he is dead as of now.
Dead. Yeah.
And then the last bit of the episode is Crixus and Spartacus, and Crixus tells Spartacus, I'm coming for you. I will
coming to get you
again.
I'm the new champion, buddy.
And Spartacus says, I welcome the attempt. So, like, the gauntlet has been thrown down. Like, these two know at some point they are going to fight. That's it. Fantastic episode.
Yeah, I really like this episode. There's a couple things in it that I think are worth mentioning. Number one, when Asher goes to the market or whatever, and Salonius is basically like trying to pay him and be like, look, dude, just let me know if Bodiotis is going to come at me. That's all I care about. Here's a bunch of money. And Asher says that great line. Doesn't he say, like, I'm a villain? Like, he literally admits, like, I'm a villain, but not your villain. And good Salonius is like, well, if you ever need something, just know that if it starts getting too hot.
My shoulders are broad. Yes. You'll find my shoulders broad and comfortable.
Yes. So we're sort of setting up that Asher might have an escape valve if things start going awry there. I love this episode. Obviously, you guys know my love for Crixus. I love the character of Crixus, and I think this episode is really his. It's nice to be able to see him just sort of like go through that arc where he's been down. I mean, they're gonna sell him. Like, everybody's pissing on him. No one believes him anymore. And it just takes a good, strong fucking of Xena, and he's back.
If all of the world's problems could be fixed thusly.
Exactly. Very cool episode. I like this. This is setting up, the big betrayal, right? The other thing I wanted to mention, the important thing about this, before Alithia shows back up at the very end, Bodiotis, like, they already know what has happened here. And I don't buy when she walks in Bodiotis, like, there's the snake. Like, he knows exactly what's going on. But she doesn't tell Xena, like, she won't admit to it, and this is going to come back to bite her in the ass in the next episode in a major, major way. So this is like the breaking point, I think, between Xena and Alithia.
It's weird, because I had it in my head that they became, like, ultra catty with each other and basically enemies, pretending to be friends, like, much earlier in the series than what's actually happening here.
Well, look what happens. Had Alithia succeeded, the House of Bodiotis is basically done. Like, Xena's not gonna. They're not be spending 100 denarii for a bunch of gladiators that aren't worth it. They won't have any money anymore. Spartacus is the cash cow, and Alithia went straight for the cash cow, and that would have affected Lucretia and Bodiotis, and the whole house would have went down. And this is where you really see Lucretia likes that money. She likes that lifestyle, and her friend tried to stab her in the back. Or stab Spartacus in the front, whatever. So, very, very cool. The other thing I want to ask, I'll toss it over to Ronan for his thoughts, but remind me to get back to the Segavax question I have for you guys. So, Ronan, what do you think of this episode?
This is a pretty good episode. I don't think it's as good as the last few that we've seen, but it's a solid entry. This is one of those kind of, like, it's not going to be full of just, like, blood and guts and shit like that. This is a setup episode, because I don't think, Steve, like, you mentioned it when you mentioned their names when you were talking about them going to the marketplace, but one very crucial brand new character who doesn't seem crucial right now, but will go on to become literally the last one standing, was introduced in this episode.
Yeah, that's true.
So a very important introduction made in this episode of characters.
I should have stayed in this hand.
But yeah, this is a fine one. Yeah, we get some good character development. It's not. I don't think it's on par with like the last few, but it's an important setup episode.
Yeah, it's definitely an episode that is about character building more. I think they threw all that CG blood in the first 3 minutes, a recap of everything that happened to give you that blood that you need. But for sure, I think that this is a setup episode, and it sort of leaps us into the next, 4 or 5 episodes to finish this out. But my question to you guys was, why do you think Segavax did not say it was Alithia? Alithia hired me, or she told me she'd do me for what was his reason as to not say anything at all? Or do you think he actually did, and they were just playing Alithia and seeing if she would actually admit to it?
I think Segavax just knew. Probably he knew he was fucked. He knew there was no way out of this. He didn't see much of a purpose in taking down the one person in his life that had offered him freedom.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't thought about that option that you just mentioned, Matt. That maybe he did tell him, and they're just setting her up for it. But the thing that makes me say that's probably not true is that fucking damn well that would have gotten brought up later on, probably after the thing that Lucy Lawless is going to do to her. You would that would have gotten mentioned. It's oh yeah, you're saying you're so angry now, but where was you were the one who tried to literally cut our legs out from under us for no fucking reason. I don't think he did tell them, and they just kind of hid it.
Yeah, I think it's just as likely that they didn't even ask. It's obvious, right? Alithia hates Spartacus. Alithia owns Segavax. Alithia asks for a private conversation with Segavax, and then Segavax tries to kill Spartacus. You don't need Batman to solve this mystery here.
Yeah, that's a good point. They just knew that given how we know that the House of Badiatus tends to handle issues like this.
They're all snakes. They know a snake when they see one.
Yeah, I am really surprised that they didn't go because the thing that Lucy Lawless will do later on is not really because of this. It's because of the fact that Lucretia not Lucretia. It's because she keeps on she keeps on demeaning her and making those backhanded comments and
those
stuff.
Barbs, those jabs,
yeah,
constantly over and over again.
And that's the thing that pushes Lucy Lawless over the edge. It's not I'm certain she knows oh yeah, okay, you're the one who put him up to this to try and kill Spartacus. That he is their bread and butter. But I know she would prefer Crixus to kind of come back into the fold and be the man on top again. But she's definitely into the money that Crixus never brought them. So I don't think that actually doesn't line up with their character because they should have. Knowing how they handle these problems, I'm very surprised that she didn't just end up in a body bag by the end of the season.
So another question I'll ask you guys that I was sort of thinking about after I watched this episode: do you feel that it could be a criticism of this show and the story of this show that the whole Glabber element has basically been completely missing? The fact that Spartacus, Glabber left, last time we saw Glabber, he's basically, no, you're just going to suffer. I'm going to let you suffer. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. And clearly Spartacus, the name of Spartacus is going well beyond Capua. And he's getting honor and glory, and Badiatus is doing great. Do you feel like there should be some thread of Glabber at this point, showing up and be what the fuck? This guy was supposed to die. I want him dead. Or do you think it's fine that he's just, in the background, not even caring about what's happening to Spartacus?
Well, based on what you told us early on in one of the early episodes, you mentioned that originally Glabber was going to be there.
Yeah.
Somehow, and they just put Alithia in the role. So I kind of just view Alithia as Glaber's proxy in this season, so it
his
doesn't...
sexy proxy.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, I think the show could be as good as it is. As good as it is, Glaber is awesome. Like, he can always make an episode better. But I don't view it as a shortcoming.
I would kind of, yeah, I'm not on board with the whole Glaber is awesome thing. He's like, he is, in the second season, like when we get there, like he's a far worse villain than Badiatus was. He just does not have the chops for it, because like, you know, the character he is playing is like somebody who is way in over his head and is just full of bullshit, trying to you know, fake it till he makes it. Like, Asher is the one who carries the bad guy role in the second season. It's like Glaber is just I think that's so. Probably that would be the weak link of the show, more or less, is that like he really doesn't have it as a bad guy goes.
Okay.
I love Glaber. Glaber's great.
I'd agree with Rona. I don't think Glaber's great. I think he could be a really good villain, but I don't think he has enough to do in this show. And I think they intentionally made him kind of weak because you want Spartacus to, you know, seem better than this guy. The guy the actor who plays Glaber, I don't think he has like the charisma of a John Hannah or a Lucy Lawless to be able to pull off that evil and I still love these people sort of thing, for me personally. But yeah, I watched this episode, I'm like, man, I feel like Glaber would do something. Like, it just seems weird that he's silent in all of this, and letting his wife just run around and hang out in the Ludus and all that stuff. And I mean, she even mentions in this episode, her friends say, "What, does your husband know that you bought a gladiator?" And she's like, "Oh, just it's a little bit of you know, my stipend or whatever. He'll never need to know," and things of that nature. Just feels like he would have some sort of presence, but you know.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could equally believe that when Glaber said, "I'm done with you, I have turned you into a slave," maybe he was really done with him.
But he wanted him to suffer,
that's
and he ain't suffering now. That's my point. Like, if Spartacus was still toiling away, being a slave and low rung on the totem pole, I could completely understand that. But now Spartacus is like famous. You know, his name is spoken about in Rome. You can't tell me that Glaber would not hear about Spartacus at this point and not want to do something.
Here's the question, more kind of important. Like, I think he really has just kind of hit that. Okay, yeah, whatever. You know, fuck him. I've got bigger, more glorious things to do. Like, because we're asking, it's like, oh well, it feels like he should be here. Does the show tell us like where he is? Because like my kind of explanation for why he probably doesn't know all of this is like maybe he got sent, like, you know, or like sent off on some other military campaign to go fuck up, and he's just not even in the loop with this information right now.
It's possible. It's possible. I don't think, at least in the episodes we've seen so far, I don't think they've made specific mention of what he's doing, although he is not in the good graces of Rome for basically, you know, what Spartacus did, and he establishes that's one of the reasons why he wanted Spartacus to suffer, because he basically shamed him in front of everybody. And even so much that Alithia's friends are like, your husband's a joke. Like, nobody, they side with a slave over a proper Roman woman when it comes to her talking about her own husband, which tells me like this guy is pretty low level right now. So I mean, that would be the easiest explanation, right? He's off on campaign somewhere, but I don't think they've explicitly stated that.
Yeah, it's an explanation that works, but yeah, it's also one that's just a random shot in the dark. It works until said otherwise, I suppose.
Yeah, and they might mention that coming up. I mean, I don't remember the details of every episode coming up, so you know, they might mention him. But with that, you guys have anything else to say about Mark of the Brotherhood?
I love this episode. I think it's great. I love Segavax. I remember being very disappointed when I first watched the episode, not because the episode was bad, but because I thought they were setting up Vero to become bad, and Segavax was going to become like the new like friend / protege character. I was very sad when they killed him off. This is weird. This is kind of a monster of the week episode in Spartacus land. Like they introduce a new antagonist and kill that antagonist off in the same episode. I'm into it. I like it.
Well, like what you said, that's actually that's a pretty important point. Is like they sit like it goes back into what I was saying too. It's like there's a big brand new character who gets revealed in this. But he's in the background until like maybe the last 2 episodes is when he suddenly becomes like the third guy.
Well, you can mention who's the important character.
It's Agron, if I'm not mistaken, because there are 2 German twins when they're buying the slaves, and even Onomaeus is like, well, Stegovax the Gaul, he looks good, and maybe the 2 German brothers, but the rest of them are bullshit. It's like, so like, but what's like, it is kind of you would figure that since he is going to become the third man, more or less, in this equation, that like he would be the one they said. And no, it's like they lead you to believe that like Stegovax is going to be the guy who's going to become a vital player, and he just isn't, just gone. That's proper subversion, like subverting expectations.
Yeah, he's got a great death too. I mean, it's so like, ugh, like when you see it, and even when Crixus is fighting him and slams his head on the edge of that bath, and you just see the teeth fly out of his mouth, you're like, holy shit. I mean, they really brutalized this guy, and he came across as pretty much a nice guy through most of it.
Yeah. A gentle giant-ish sort of character is how they kind of make him out to be,
with a horse cock. So there you go. So thank you, everyone. That's Mark of the Brotherhood. Next week it's going to get crazy. We're going to be back. The episode's titled Horror, and we're going to see if there's any comeuppance for Alithia and Spartacus at the hands of Lucretia, the devil that she is, because she is not happy that Spartacus has usurped Crixus. As now that Crixus has shown that he's fully Crixus in bed, Spartacus has got to go, right? He's got to go. And Alithia needs to pay for what she almost did to the cash cow. So we're going to talk about the episode Whore next Thursday. Let us know. What did you think of Mark of the Brotherhood? And we'll see you next week.